Hello, gang. This is Deb, Dave, and Marcy, and we're starting this baby up. It is Sunday, the 10th of October, and this is your Ungoverned Rules 2021 live stream, whereupon we will talk about the sheer and utter nonsense that we should believe state-run Russian media outlets over the mainstream media. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to Dave.
All right. So before you start talking about, before I start talking about Russia Today or RT, Sputnik, and Ruptly, who are all intertwined, you have to know who they're working for, and they're working for Putin. So if you are upset about American media because they are catering to the elite, Vladimir Putin's net worth 2021, is he the richest man on earth? We don't really know because he's very adept at hiding his wealth. So, but
$200 billion.
Yeah. This is probably one of the hardest questions to answer, so no one knows exactly how much Putin's net worth is. However, every guess, and by the way, I don't know who wrote this, so spell check. Every guess is generally in the billions. So back in 2015, one of the major critics of Putin and a former fund manager in Russia claimed Putin's net worth stands at 200 billion, which means that he'd be the richest person on earth. At least he's a billionaire.
Right. I mean, one other site said somewhere between 85 billion and 200 billion. I mean, what we're going to argue over? I mean, come on, once you get to 85 billion, you know, who needs 200 billion?
We do know that Putin owns holdings in a number of Russian companies. Rumors have been swirling that a lot of Putin's money comes from extortion and theft. The Russian economy has experienced unprecedented growth as a result. He's earned a lot of money through investments and kickbacks.
Sound familiar? Does anyone sound familiar there? Yeah. Let me just say this. We complain here, you know, about corruption and money and all of that shit going on here. If you're turning around and telling me this guy is any different, you don't believe in corporate run media, okay, which, you know, we're talking about outlets that have won Pulitzer Prizes and uncovered things, okay, but you would put your faith in this guy. Someone better think, you really better think twice about it. You've got an incredible capacity to compartmentalize if that's what you are. That's your thought process.
Putin maintains his power, and he's considered as one of the most powerful people in the world. He's known for his heavy-handed approach, killing political rivals and journalists. Russia's president has over 20 palaces and villas, helicopters, yachts, over 40 airplanes. He also loves spending tons of money on clothes and watches. Do I have any evidence that he's killed people? No, but I do have at least one list of numerous journalists in one European country that has people who have been killed, and they're in direct conflict with the Russian Federation. So,
by the way, you would probably never be able to figure out any of the truth behind that because they don't allow that information to leave their country. Whatever happens there, it doesn't, those kinds of things, no one's allowed to report that. No one, I can promise you.
So at the very least, he is an elite. So he, villas, helicopters, yachts, 40 airplanes. Again, sound familiar? Probably has more than Trump, but sound familiar?
Yeah,
This is just a recent snapshot of the RT live feed. It goes on 24 hours a day. It has the RT has several different language, videos in different languages and all that kind of thing. So it's a broad reach. Today they are hammering the withdrawal in Afghanistan, and what it means, and supposedly it's 3 times. What do they call it? It was Benghazi squared.
right.
But if they didn't withdraw from Afghanistan, it would have been a war travesty and blah blah blah.
Right.
Which, by the way, just so everyone knows, Russia was there before the United States.
They actually got out after 9 years. They figured it out. We stayed 20.
Yeah. So they did do it. So okay.
They did it and then they lost. We should have taken an example.
This is today's RT. If you go on RT, you're going to see a lot of stuff on the vaccines or on the medications and that kind of stuff. So just saying, Trump Iowa rally signals a 2024 run. So
But will Americans give him another chance to clear out the radical socialists destroying the U.S.?
A Karen Halloween outfit has a split opinion. It's shown that white women are now the easiest of targets.
Yeah. Well, these are op-eds too. That one's an op-ed.
That's an op-ed. But you see how it's kind of like what we were talking about last week. You're
Right.
targeting a specific group and you're trying to get them, triggered. So this was an interview of Vladimir Putin by, I guess you would call her the editor-in-chief, who's the head of RT, Margaret Simonian. Did I get that right? Probably not. Margarita.
Margarita.
I got close. So I'm going to read a little bit of this, and I want you guys to see the direction in which they're going. RT, again, is Russian government-driven news. So, Mr. Putin, thanks for visiting. Thanks for inviting me. According to the Russian tradition, as hospitable hosts, we're always happy to have such guests. Jesus Christ. This is Putin. I have to say, it was somewhat unexpected for me that our talk would be on air. Not to mention it being live, but I was happy when Margarita told me about it. I knew that we were having a meeting with journalists, but I had no idea that you had arranged such an ambush as a live broadcast of it. Well, it's all yours.
You're so full of shit, Vladimir.
Well, we have nothing to hide. There's to hide indeed. I mean, hey, come on. Jesus Christ. My first question is a bit immodest about our channel. What are your impressions of it, of the channel that he runs? I have good impressions. When we designed the project back in 2005, we intended introducing another strong player on the world scene, a player that wouldn't just provide an unbiased coverage of the events in Russia, but also try to break the Anglo-Saxon monopoly on the global information streams. And it seems to me you're succeeding in that job. There's a little bit more here. I'd like to I'd like to
Yeah.
emphasize something of the key importance. We never expected this to be a news agency or a channel which would defend the position of the Russian political line. We wanted to bring an absolutely independent news channel to the news arena. Certainly the channel is funded by the government. By the way, 100 million since 2017, I think. So it cannot help but reflect the Russian government's official position on the events of our country and the rest of the world one way or another. But I'd like to underline again that we never intended this channel, RT, as any kind of apologetics for the Russian political line, whether domestic or foreign.
Yeah.
Now, have we heard this kind of stuff before? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Do I hear it? Fox News? Yes. I mean, come on. So this is Margarita. And one issue that at least our viewers are generally excited about today is the Snowden case. A man who is being dubbed a second Assange has exposed total surveillance practices employed by the American government. There are two sides to this story. On the one hand, that was classified information, which makes this man a traitor. But on the other hand, the information he has leaked is of crucial importance, primarily for the public, for the American public, and for the world in general. What do you think of that? And by the way, I believe that when it comes to the Russian government, and it comes to leakers and people who bring information out, they don't really attack them. They just deny it even exists.
Right.
And I'll give you an example, later. It's just a little bit more. He told us nothing we didn't know before. I think everybody has been long aware that signals intelligence is about surveillance of individuals and organizations. It's becoming a global phenomenon in the context of combating international terrorism, and such methods are generally practicable. The question is how well those security agencies are controlled by the public. I can tell you that at least, I love this. I can tell you that at least in Russia, you cannot just go and tap someone's phone conversation without a warrant issued by a court, really.
It's true here too.
Yeah. Theoretically.
Right.
That's more or less the way a civilized society should go about fighting terrorism with modern day technology. As long as it's exercised within the boundaries of the law that regulates intelligence activities, it's all right. But if it's unlawful, then it's bad. Law good, break law bad,
This is such PR.
Mr. Obama said rather gaudily that you cannot have 100% security while maintaining 100% privacy. Yes, you can. I'd like to reiterate, you do have to obtain a warrant for specific policing activities domestically. So why shouldn't this requirement be valid for intelligence agencies as well? It can and it should. He was
He's shitting me.
He was in the KGB. He's not that. But
He's
anyway,
full of shit.
Anyway, you guys want to read the rest of this? I just wanted to give you a snapshot.
No, that's fine. Yeah, that's good. People should really read that. That's a classic public relations stunt.
Wow.
I can tell you that from being in public relations.
I can't believe you came up to me to interview this scheduled interview that we had. No, come on. This is Rupley. This is Margarita Simonyan's company. And it's also, if you remember, this is Rupley is well known for the video of Assange leaving the embassy or being carried out of the embassy. So this is just a little bit more from Rupley, So here is Sputnik. Now, some news stories. I think the Pandora Papers are probably the big thing for them right now. And if you notice, nothing about Putin and nothing about his mistress and all that kind of stuff. You won't see it. So, This story is what set me onto this track in the first place. This gentleman, Andrew Feinberg, he was the bureau chief for a very short period of time with Sputnik, the White House bureau chief. And this story, basically, when he was interviewed, he was asked, if you're told to tell something that isn't true, would you be willing to do it? And he said no. And then he went on to explain a little bit. He got hired, and then very, very shortly afterwards, he realized that it was a mistake because they were telling him exactly what to say. He wasn't a reporter. He was a parrot, basically.
Right.
When they told him to investigate or ask questions about Seth Rich, he wouldn't do it. He was let go. So, and the people at Sputnik, when asked about this, was like, well, why don't you hire him? So they did for this story. They hired him to write this story. Let's see here. Yeah. So this is about the question. I knew Sputnik was state-owned and had a reputation for sometimes playing fast and loose with the facts, but was my interviewer probing my willingness to lie, or did he want to know whether or not I possessed honest good ethics that are prized at most news agencies? And he told the guy he'd quit, then explained that he had no problem working for a state-sponsored news organization or even a Russian one, as long as he had the editorial independence that he'd have at any other journalism organization. Since there are many state-sponsored news organizations, including BBC, Voice of America, Agence France Presse, Al Jazeera. Okay. So over time, he realized there was one thing, the very first day. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah. So, first question. Friday, March 2017, he inquired about why Trump was refusing to use the funding and authority granted him by Congress to send weapons to the Ukraine to assist in that country's fight against Russian aggression. So,
Wow.
yeah, I didn't know it then, but I'd broken one of the biggest unwritten rules of how things are done at Sputnik. Well, yeah. In practice, Sputnik's mission statements, telling the untold, means that Sputnik's content should reflect the Russian side of any news story, whether it lines up with reality or not. When it came to the issue of Crimea, which will be a big thing here, it's still a big issue with Russian press. Crimea has been occupied by Russian-backed troops since 2014. We were never to write anything on the subject that didn't include language noting that 90% of Crimea residents voted in a referendum to rejoin Russia, which is a disputed talking point. Because the talking point is, well, the rebuttal to that is that they were coerced. So there was a vote. Crimean residents voted as to whether or not to stay with Ukraine or whether to become a Russian territory. And they voted to go the Russian route, and this is the line that you're going to hear a lot. So they basically, his bosses told him to give them any questions that he may have, and they have to approve them. Every single time they would throw his questions away and give him their own questions. And over time, it just got old. So, and it wasn't just him from his, now, this is an interview of Margarita Simonian in Spiegel. She contends that Western journalists prefer to paint Russia as an evil aggressor, and their station is not an outlet for government propaganda. This is her.
She's what, like 33 years old, right?
She was 33 in 2013, so she is 41 now.
Wow.
She's 40, in her 40s. So, let me see.
Oh, this is Larry King.
This is about Larry King. You have to ask him question, but I do know he's happy to get back into the game. What can Russia today? Oh, this is him when he came to Russia Today. Okay, that
Right.
Others can't. And by the way, most of this is not going to be about personalities. They might talk about personalities. That's how they drag people in. That's how they lure them in with names. So, here we go. But okay. I can quote him from an interview he gave recently. I thought I could retire, but I love my job. I thought I wouldn't miss it, but I do.
What is his job?
To, model suspenders.
I don't know. I never understood.
Yeah, me neither. I really didn't. I mean, I guess I
Is
didn't
he a
see.
talk show host?
He's a talk show guy and he's an interviewer, but I never saw the appeal. I really didn't.
I didn't either. I never liked him. I never like. It's not even that I didn't like him. I kind of just was never really interested.
Right. It's like, I don't care that he was married to 200 wives or whatever,
At the
whatever.
same time.
Whatever it was, it's like, your network is funded by the Russian government. What is its mission statement? This is Simonian. If you tune in to CNN or the BBC on a regular day, 80 or 90% of the stories are identical. We want to show that there are more stories out there than the 10 a day you usually encounter. I'm not saying that you should watch only our program, but I'm saying you should also watch it. Again, perfect marketing.
It is. It's great. It's brilliant.
Spiegel Online. The Russian media has a slightly more dramatic take on your objectives. Many are comparing the network to the Ministry of Defense. You said it yourself, when Russia goes to war, then we will join them in battle. Yes, she has also said that journalism is basically an instrument of war, and it is. That goes for the country's real armed conflicts. Do you remember the August War of 2008? And then she gets into the whole thing with Georgia, which I'm not going to get into. So here we go. Part of the way to fund the war is to give them $100 million.
Correct.
$100 million in government funding. Think about what you could do with an internet news show or your YouTube channel or whatever with $100 million. Just saying. Which includes a ton of
Go ahead.
okay, which includes a ton of staff, equipment, cameras, in order to You like that segue? If it
Going
actually.
in the fucking browser would cooperate now.
So people were all wondering how a Russian-owned media outlet in Rupli, basically owned by Margarita Simonian, captured the first video of Julian Assange's arrest. Well, when you have enough money to staff people to stand in front of the embassy, and especially knowing that this is coming, you'll be able to get it. A lot of the news organizations, all the news organizations got tired and they left, and then this happened. So let's see. All right. So this is a New York Times story. I just wanted to put a little more flavor on it. Analysts are sharply divided about the influence of RT, pointing to its minuscule ratings numbers. Many caution against overstating its impact. Yet focusing on ratings may miss the point, says Peter Pomerantsev, who wrote a book 3 years ago that described Russia's use of television for propaganda. Ratings aren't the main thing for them, he said. These are campaigns for financial, political, and media influence. They're planting seeds.
Right.
Plant seeds. You get these little.
Ratings are a thing here in the United States.
Yeah.
You know, that's a United States drive for television.
RT and Sputnik propel those campaigns by helping create the fodder for thousands of fake news propagators and providing another outlet for hacked material that can serve Russian interests, said Ben Nimmo, who studies RT for the Atlantic Council. Whatever its impact, RT is unquestionably a case study in the complexity of modern propaganda. It's both a slick modern television network dressed up with great visuals and stylish presenters, and a content farm that helps feed the European far right. That's basically it, content farm. That's why you have Rupli, that's why you have Sputnik, and that's why you have RT. You don't just have one news outlet. So now you can go, hey, wait a minute, it was on Sputnik and it was on RT. Even though there's the exact same thing, basically. So, I'll go. So a lot of what I encountered was about the annexation or capture of Crimea from Ukraine. Now, I'm no expert whatsoever, but if anybody really wants to know about more stuff about the Ukraine, basically this whole thing happened, the annexation, when you're talking about the votes, it happened between the February 20th and March 26th. So that treaty with Crimea was signed on March 18th, 2014. And I'll talk a little bit about it, but basically, you know, they're justifying military action. And the way they justify military action is through some tried and true propaganda techniques, on the ground radio, you know, billboards, all that kind of stuff. You muzzle the press. You rebrand what the fight is about. I mean, you think of it, you think about here, you know, when Trump or whoever talks about Antifa as terrorists and BLM as terrorists, they're doing the same thing in Ukraine. Okay, calling the Ukrainians fascists and thugs and all that kind of stuff. Sound furious, signify nothing. I've heard that one before too. So bend the rules. When talking about Ukraine, Putin insists that Russia will have a security presence until the situation normalizes. Although he hasn't said what constitutes an acceptable normal. I've heard that too.
Right.
You know, how did we justify Afghanistan for so long? Or Iraq or wherever? Then follow the script, which is why the people working in the press, they are constantly reminded to follow their script. Now, we talked about information as being weapons of war. The story of the Ukraine scandal begins with documents dumped in a river. Now, this is documents of the Ukrainian leader who fled, and he dumped these right before he left. Viktor Yanukovych. I always mess that up, but I think I did pretty well.
No, you did pretty good.
Yeah. So, and yes, he was mentioned during the whole Burisma thing. He was these documents, I believe there were what, 50,000? Oh, and by the way, when Yanukovych left, I thought this was telling. For Russia, after months of demonstrations in which more than 100 protesters had been killed by government security forces and snipers, he left behind a 350-acre, $1 billion compound, which included a zoo, a golf course, a dog breeding center, and a lavishly furnished mansion. And also a massage table in which journalists tried these documents on, as everybody knows. So we have Anna Babinetz. She talks about how her and her fellow journalists fished these things out and had to dry them quickly. They were able to salvage, 25,000 documents for the river. Babinetz and a cast of fellow journalists spent the next 8 days in Yanukovych's compound, drying documents on the ex-president's heated massage table, sleeping on ornate sofas or inlaid marble floors under the $53 million worth of crystal chandeliers. They posted them on a website called Yanukovych Leaks before handing off dozens of boxes of documents to prosecutors. So these, we're talking about documents that led to Trump's potential impeachment, all sorts of stuff. This is the Panama part. Some of these went to the Panama Papers.
Right.
So, and why am I bringing this up? I mean, first off, I want to say, again, all of this stuff, news, journalism, is part of war in a situation like this. In Ukraine, they took 3 pro-Russia channels off the air. Okay, so people were upset that it was propaganda, but they have to protect themselves.
Yeah, when you got Russian troops,
right,
your doorstep.
Right. This is a timeline of reporters killed in Ukraine. Now, I'm not saying who did it because I don't know. But from
some of these are kind of sketchy.
These are sketchy.
Yeah, like this one up here. Go back a little bit.
Yeah.
Not too much, but
Oh, the hanging in a tree guy?
Mikhailo Kolomiets, co-founder of Ukrainian news agency, found dead hanging on a tree in Belarus. It's a little sketchy.
Yeah, well, police ruled it a suicide. No, I'm just saying. But
You know, some of these, you know, you can see
ridiculous. Yeah,
that they're, you know, as a result of the conflict, but some of these aren't.
correct.
Alexander Krasinski, prominent crime reporter, and his wife were murdered. You know, then the other guy, next guy is killed by shelling crossfire, you know,
Right.
but some of
Somebody
them, some of them are
Shot
pretty
in
sketchy.
a bus, you know,
Right,
a lot of the, some of these absolutely were during the, you know, were during battle fire. You
right.
can tell. But some of them is just very hinky. Okay. Now, as I said, Putin has a reputation for often taking care of his enemies.
Taking
But you're
care of
never
the
gonna
people who
know.
present a threat to what doesn't benefit him.
Right. But the reason that I said, you know, said this is get a little bit of, if you get a little bit of perspective on this, how dangerous it was to do this, how dangerous it was to fish these things out of here and take care of this.
Right.
This is Abby Martin back in 2014. You actually saw a picture of it. This link actually has the video. I did hear it. I could hear her shaking. I don't know, you know, if it was just she was nervous or scared or whatever. I would understand why she would be. Going on state-owned Russian television and telling them that Russia is wrong in the annexation of Crimea and the invasion of a sovereign state. Basically, what her bosses said is that, don't worry, she won't be disciplined. You know, she shouldn't be disciplined. She didn't do anything wrong, number one. But that they wanted her to go to Crimea to see for herself the what was really going on. She declined because she says she didn't want basically a staged press junket. Okay.
Well, here's the thing. She also alleges that she didn't get contacted
Right.
about it. She found out about it through the media, that that's what they wanted her to do.
Right.
They never contacted her or told her as her employer.
I noticed that too. That a lot of people were saying on the news, actually in this clip, that they were ordering her to Crimea.
Right.
Now, I don't know if that was partly why she left. I have no idea, but it was about a year later that she left. So
She did not go to Crimea either.
she didn't.
No.
She refused to go because she said she knew it was just staged.
Right.
She wasn't going to be involved in that kind of thing. So Deb and I did check. She's working for a radio show now. So what was the name of the show?
Project Censored. It's
Project
basically they cover the stories that don't get covered in the mainstream media.
Right.
You know, so they call it Project Censored, but realistically speaking, they're going to cover what they think is going to get them readership. Most, you know, the stories that matter, most of the people reading their publications.
Right.
So, you know, everybody makes editorial decisions. about what they consider news that they want to carry one way or another, whether they're wrong about it or whether they're right about it. So,
Right. Well, what's the point of putting a story out there if nobody's going to read it? I've heard that before.
by the way, I support Project Censored, and I get their book of stories that should have been covered in the media every year. So
Right.
I do pay attention. And I still subscribe to many mainstream media outlets.
So this is a Daily Beast story on another RT anchor that quit. She actually quit on air. And again, this is about Crimea. The point with this one is that her bosses basically said that she was doing this for attention and she was doing this for ratings because she saw how Abby Morton did well, and she's just trying to follow in her footsteps. So, again, it's just a kind of a propaganda kind of thing. So there we go. That was another story on it. So, all right.
How did Abby Martin do well? I haven't seen her anywhere else.
That's exactly the point. I'm not sure that you could say that. I don't know.
I mean, she's doing her own thing, but
she's doing a good thing if she's doing that stuff with Project Censored.
Right.
It's just it's not high profile.
This was during the time that Abby was still there. So I believe their message was, hey, Abby's doing really well, even though she did this. Maybe, this is another way to do it, to leave, but maybe she thinks that she's going to do as well as Abby, even though Abby's really going to do well because she's still on RT and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
They interviewed Abby about Liz Wall, and she was like, you know what? Liz has the freedom to do what she has to do. And I completely understand it. Right now, I'm going to stay. But she left shortly thereafter, actually. Now, this is a project by students, I believe it was Columbia. They basically looked at everything that RT did. These are journalism students. I believe they're masters. They're getting their masters, and might be data, but I think it's masters. And the name of the program is RT Watch. So it's interesting. You have these guys, they basically put RT under a microscope and criticize them. Columbia University graduate students in journalism. I'm going to leave this, in here for you guys to take a look at.
Yep. It's really cool.
And Columbia, I have used them before. I think the first time that I used them was in the Washington Post stuff.
They're a big time PR. They're a big time journalism school.
Yeah. Yeah. So this story actually does a lot of background on Semyon and and how she got involved with Russia Today and how Russia Today got started and the whole thing. So something a little different that we've been talking about forever. I saw in so-and-so that Pfizer is having problems and, it's not as effective as people say and blah, 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 blah. Russian disinformation campaign aims to undermine confidence in Pfizer and other COVID-19 vaccines. Why? Because Russia is selling their own or is developing their own vaccines. Russian intelligence agencies have mounted a campaign to undermine confidence in Pfizer and other Western vaccines using online publications that in recent months have questioned the vaccine's development and safety.
Yep.
And an official with the State Global Engagement Center monitors foreign disinformation efforts, identified 4 publications that he said have served as fronts for Russian intelligence. The websites played up the vaccine's risk of side effects, questioned their efficacy, and said the U.S. had rushed the Pfizer vaccine through the approval process, among other false or misleading claims.
Allow me to just say this. I am scheduled for my next system update on my Pfizer vaccine when I get my booster on October 18th.
Getting that mark of the beast.
Yeah, right.
We can say these outlets are directly linked to Russian intelligence services. So now, here we go.
And Russia's actually got a pretty comprehensive propaganda machine.
Oh my God. Yeah.
It's amazing.
YouTube shuts German channels of Russian broadcaster RT. That's Miss Semyon in all her glory.
She is the face of this thing, is she not, huh?
Oh, good Lord. She's the face of a lot of things.
Yeah. Dusa would be one. Yeah.
Yeah. So YouTube, and I love this because it basically shows what this is about. YouTube says it shut 2 German channels of Russian state broadcaster RT in a move centering on alleged coronavirus misinformation, a decision that drew threats of retaliation from Russia on Wednesday. YouTube, which is owned by Google, said RT's German branch had received a strike for uploading material that violated YouTube standards on COVID-19 misinformation. Now, when this kind of thing happens, I look for exactly what it is, but you can't find it because it's been taken down.
Right.
As a consequence, was suspended for uploading new videos to its channel. During this suspension, RTDE tried to circumvent this restriction by using another YouTube channel to upload its videos, which resulted in both channels being terminated for violating YouTube's conditions of use, it added. So, all right, here we go. This is what I want to get to. Writing on the messaging app Telegram, RT editor-in-chief Margarita Simonyan called the move a true media war by Germany on Russia. I'm looking forward to my native state banning Deutsche Welle and other German media in Russia without delay, as well as close the offices of ARD and ZDF, Simonyan said, referring to Germany's main public television stations, not to mention sanctions on YouTube. Which is, you shut me down, I shut you down.
Right.
Again, this is just, again, the talking point. Crimeans vote for, 90% to quit Ukraine for Russia. And the US at the time reject the Crimea vote as invalid. Now, the problem is, who do you believe, the Russian government or the US government? Honestly, I believe the information that that the Crimean people were probably coerced. I don't really, this is
What
all,
did they say? There's a statement in there about, they didn't mention the fact that there were Russian tanks on the streets and military at their polling places at the time the votes were being cast.
I'm trying to find, I try to find that quote, but that's
in one of your articles, so it's in there.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Yeah. Pfeiffer bluntly said that the United States won't recognize a referendum in the Crimean Peninsula to join Russia, and was joined by senators who denounced the vote as bogus and a sham. The election referendum is a lame excuse by Putin to invade Crimea and take it over. This is a Soviet-style election. You know what the ending's going to be.
Yeah, I know what the ending's going to be, but you know, we do the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yes, we do.
And this is a fact of the matter. You know, this game gets played on both sides of the coin. But my point is, if you don't trust the United States, why would you trust Vladimir Putin?
Absolutely. Listen,
You know,
I'm not.
it's ridiculous. You know, we're not saying that, but you know,
Yeah.
there were incidences. There were people who won Pulitzer Prizes for exposing the wars when they were going on in the United States.
Right. Exactly.
So in Russia, he literally has the power because he's an autocrat to shut down the media. There's a reason why a guy like Donald Trump admired him.
Yep. Absolutely. A couple more things. I know Deb and I talked about doing more on the Pandora Papers, and we probably will, but I have to do way more research. But of course, Putin dismisses the Russia leaks implicating him. You know, Russia dismisses leaks implicating Putin. Of course he does. So,
Oh, what were they going to say? Bad Vlad.
right.
What was it? He was keeping a mistress somewhere?
Yeah, it was something about mistress and tax. I mean, if he's that rich too, I mean,
Come on.
the hell, whatever.
Fucking break.
So, all right. So, I think I'm going to end here. I want people to understand too that not all Russian press is state-owned, fortunately, and they're independent. This particular paper won a Nobel Peace Prize just a couple of days ago. It was announced, and this gentleman runs that paper. Editor of Novaya Gazeta, Dmitry Muratov, was presented the award, and he basically says, Peace Prize is for my paper, not me. Which is, that is a journalist. Okay.
Yep.
And there have been reporters on this paper, I believe, killed. So this is serious business, and I'm glad that he, as well as the other individual who was awarded this, was given some recognition, and maybe, just maybe, this paper will be recognized, and people will start to read it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's the thing. You know, it's like a David and Goliath battle, because these people, you know, they don't have the reach that somebody like RT and Sputnik has. You know, RT and Sputnik are not two different things. You know, the money for Sputnik is funneled in through RT.
Yep.
And RT funds Sputnik.
And Rupley too. I
Right.
know that's kind of, you know, that's kind of the video part of the whole thing.
Right.
So it's kind of like, I mean, it's different, but kind of like Laura Poitras.
It's different though, because this woman is the
head of everything.
Is the head of RT, and they're contracting with her personal video company.
Yeah.
You know, that, you know, again, you know, stop it.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting to see. It's lag. My thing is lagging. So let me see if I can. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. Well, not. It's not letting me do it. It's freaking. It's just hanging. What I wanted to do is I wanted to show the paper for a second, but it's being ornery. So, you know.
You got a lot of tabs open there, I see.
Yeah.
Maybe it slows things down. I don't know.
Well, if I close everything, then I won't be able to share them.
True.
There we go. Just letting you close
All
down
right.
now.
Jesus Christ. All right, hold on. Let me see if I can get it. All right.
Well, you're amazing, Dave. You know, how many tabs you have open there?
Well, none now, and now I don't know what I'm going to do because now I have to share this. They all closed, and now I have to like, hopefully, yeah, they're all gone, and I have to find them all for Deb now. All right. Oh, let's see
See what
here.
happens when you do a show on state-owned Russian television?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Just kidding.
Yeah, I know. All
That
right.
looked like at least 30 tabs to me.
Yeah, that's common though.
I know.
We do that all day.
My computer couldn't handle that.
I have 4 browsers up. I use 4 browsers every day.
All right. All right. Here we go.
What
I
are we
don't
looking
know.
at?
Yeah, hold on. I will switch it to English. So this is the newsletter, Hawaii Gazeta. This just won the Nobel Peace Prize.
Pretty
Okay.
cool.
Now, my point is you take a look at this, and then you take a look at RT, or you take a look at Sputnik, or you take a look at Roughly, and that is very bare bones. You can tell that, you know, it's not flashy. It doesn't have any whatever, but it does have content, and the writing is pretty, is pretty good and pretty spot on. And that's what it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be about flash. It's not supposed to be about guys in freaking outfits with their microphones. That's not what it's supposed to be about.
Yeah, that's not what, and again, it shows the difference in a real journalist outfit and one that's, Russian sponsored. RT used to be pretty much nothing too.
Right. Right. Well, RT started what, in 2005, I believe. So,
Yeah. And it's actually a government run thing, but it's grown.
right. Right.
And
Well, and
again,
also,
and again, it's not even numbers. It's the way they use social media, the way they influence other outlets to pick up what they're saying and spread it. That's exactly what they're doing.
but one thing I didn't get into because I didn't want to get, you looked at Larry King, and then we got into a 5-minute discussion about Larry King. God knows, we could go into a list of all the people that have been on RT.
Right.
Chris Hedges and Jesse Ventura and Julian Assange and all these different people, and that is for the American public. That's those are the shiny toys.
Right.
Like, ooh, that's my guy. My guy's on. Never mind that it's Russia, it's state propaganda.
And look at certainly when you look at as, and I've said this in a previous, I know I've said this in another stream, when you look at the people today on RT, Lee Camp,
Right.
Who the hell else is on there? Chris Hedges with his
Damn,
on
that's
contact on his,
Lee.
what?
Lee, I can't stand that guy. The Lee Bandy, or I don't know what his name is. He has the long hair.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know who he is.
Yeah.
Anyway, my point being that, all of these people on there are not on there criticizing the Russian government. They're
Right.
on there being given a free rein to criticize this government. And why, you would think that that's some kind of a great advance in, free speech. We're not actually seeing it for what it is. They don't have to say a word about us. We got our own citizens saying it. And I'm
Right.
not saying that the criticism is not warranted in a lot of cases. What I'm saying is, don't stick your head in the fucking sand and think that this is being done to help the United States and its citizens or you. It's being done to advance the cause. They play
Right.
the same games we play, is what I'm saying. Don't be lulled into thinking that they don't.
And by the way, I do have to mention it for 2 seconds. Yes, Julian Assange had a 12-show series on RT. He interviewed different people. I watched some of it, and none of it I saw was suspicious or any of that. No, he didn't criticize the Russian government. Has WikiLeaks criticized the Russian government before? Yes, they have. But
One of the first two things that WikiLeaks ever dropped was Russian and Chinese.
yeah,
That's the reality.
but the reality is you're not going to if you're Putin or the Russian government, you're not going to crush these guys who are public heroes. You're going to have them on your show.
They lend credibility.
Yep. Now I don't know why Julian was on and did his thing or whatever. The information was good. I know, Snowden, they mentioned Snowden too. I'm just saying that just because somebody's on doesn't necessarily mean they're wrong, but most of the time, yeah. I mean, you have what did Kiriakou recently say?
Kiriakou said it's ridiculous to think that the Russians influence what we do because he's on Sputnik.
Right.
There's an article, and I think we should put it in, about Kiriakou going from the CIA to being a Russian propagandist. I think we ought to put that article in.
Oh, I forgot about that one. Yeah.
I have it. I have it up on my browser.
Yeah, I had it. Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. I forgot to put it in actually. But again, I was trying to keep it more of a, infrastructure,
Right.
the infrastructure, and not like one particular person. But that is a good, that is a good.
Yeah, and
point.
I'm not suggesting that we focus on him as a particular person. I'm suggesting that we focus on him as a useful idiot. People have to understand what that system what's involved with that system, and I think that article shows it.
Right. And do I think that
It's propaganda to say that RT is not influenced by Vladimir Putin's government. I think that's bullshit.
I mean, if you look at some of the people that they actually have on, you have a comedian, a former wrestler. Yeah, it's like, come on.
A former
So-
CIA.
A
Guy.
former CIA guy, former bureau chief of the New York Times,
Right.
you know. So you have an eclectic collection of people. And by the way, you have Captain Kirk now is on RT. Some
He's
science,
also going up in outer space with what's his name.
right? Right.
Let them go. Maybe they can, maybe it'll be like Lost in Space.
The whole point of this thing was to say, look, RT is not an alternative. It's not. It's the same thing. It's actually more of what you are trying to escape. RT and Sputnik. It's only the other side. You know.
But,
So
they are very adept at what they do.
they're actually pretty amazing. And not everything, by the way, not everything is Russian propaganda either. You know, I looked at some of this stuff. I'm like, oh, okay. You know, because after doing a couple of weeks of this, I'm like, okay, yeah, I recognize that now. You know,
Yeah.
you're pitting the men against the women, or the gays against the straights, or the the freaking northerners versus the southerners, all that crap. It's all that nonsense.
Yeah.
And I remember years ago, people saying, why are we doing this duality stuff? Why are we doing all these wedge issues? Part of the reason, not all of it, part of the reason is you're being directed towards it.
Yeah,
Possibly.
I just have to say one thing though. I'm going to be honest though. I have to say that I don't see, I don't look at wedge issues as the way I used to look at it. The reality is a lot of these wedge issues are real. The overturning of women's rights to,
Oh, absolutely.
these are wedge issues that have to become wedge issues
Right.
at the end of the day, because to think that the right is ever going to allow anyone outside the realm of what they determine is real American is not something I, as a human being, could ever acquiesce to or would acquiesce to. We now have Tucker Carlson basically saying the reason for all of the problems in the United States is the non-white people don't know their place. Essentially,
Yeah.
that kind of shit cannot be fucking tolerated, under any
Yeah,
circumstance.
There's a difference between that and women should divorce their men because the men.
Right, and the North hates the South and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, all that
I got
bullshit.
that.
Now, but however, another one that we talk about ad nauseum, the vaccination stuff, that is a serious issue that, it's like, I'm not gonna budge from the issue. I'm not.
Right.
I'm not going to your house and freaking, stabbing you with a needle, but I'm gonna get pissed if you come at me and say that I'm stupid for getting a vaccination, and tell you to get the fuck out of my face.
And by the way, standing outside, anti-vaxxers standing outside schools and screaming at their parents and their children that forced vaccinations are rape. There's nothing illegal about that. You're exercising your free speech rights. You're outside. You're not impeding anybody's progress on the fucking sidewalk, unless, of course, you live in Florida, where they've literally outlawed all of that. But the fact of the matter is, to scream that at children you know, there are ways to make your point, and then you kind of fall down into, you know, whether it's basically human of you to do that to a child, and they claim you care about children.
Right.
Okay, that's utter bullshit. I don't even want to fucking hear that. You know,
Right.
you talk about medical freedom. Well, you know, I'm going to just tell you this. I don't give a shit what anyone says. 710,000 people dead in the United States from COVID is too many people dead. It didn't have to be this way. And 840,000 children in this country now under the age of 4 that are infected with COVID. They can't get vaccines. They haven't even approved 5 to 11 yet. Anyone arguing and taking to court issues about whether masks should be mandatory in schools, that's not for the governor of the state to decide. That's for the school district to decide. So again, we're worried about rights, but we're not worried about rights, you know?
The one that has always baffled me are pro-lifers who kill abortion doctors because they're worried about pro-life.
Or if you're, you know, Tate, what's his name? Tate Reeves in I believe that's his last name. I know Tate's his first fucking name.
Yeah.
In Mississippi, who says that the people down in Mississippi aren't worried about COVID because they believe in eternal life. It's a good thing if they believe in eternal life under his rule. He literally, I believe he made it illegal for masks to be worn, but won't do anything. When it was at its height, he wouldn't do a thing about mitigating anything that was going on in his state. And at one point, 72 unborn babies that died as a result of COVID. And he's pro-life. This is the kind of shit that infuriates me, okay? That's the kind of shit that infuriates me. So we get off the track there, but that's all right. Shit happens when you're talking about this shit. So anyway, that, you know, I think the message is clear here, folks. You know, I think Vladimir Putin is Donald Trump with a lot more charm. That's really what I think, that Donald Trump emulates dictators. I think that's why he was attracted to the idiot from Korea. I think that's why he was enamored with Vladimir Putin, and everybody knew he was, you know, including Vladimir Putin. And he liked, you know, him and Bolsonaro, all of them, all the strong men. You know, he's like, that's his thing. So
Well,
if anyone, you know, doesn't think that we're in danger, should he actually manage to get himself reelected, should probably read Fiona Hill's article.
I have to say that when I was doing all of this and reading all these things, I immediately made the connection of these Russian news outlets and said, you know, this just reminds me of Fox and Trump. It really does. You know, they're just making stuff up to puff people up. And whatever, you know, if something happens that puts him in a bad light, he's not even going to explain it. He's just going to deny it. Nope, didn't happen.
Yeah, he does. He just said now. He just did it today on Fiona Hill's article. She's
Right.
just I forget what he called her with nice, you know, with a nice, I don't forget what it was, but you know, she was on some show and she was actually quite good. You know, that people, one of the things that happens here is people identify themselves when you ask them what, you know, tell me about yourself. You know, the first response is I'm a Democrat or I'm a Republican. They don't even identify themselves as people or as Americans. That's what she's saying, Americans, you know.
Right.
They don't identify themselves as Americans. They immediately gravitate to one side or the other. And she said that she has had a lot of people. She came here young. She has other people that she knows who came here, and every single one of them says, this is not the America I came to. So they see things very differently than we see it here as people who came in from the outside. You know, they're now saying that this version of the United States is not the country they came to. I don't think there's any question that Donald Trump has desire to be an autocrat. There is absolutely no question in my mind. None. Look at, he's out there right now, right? Commanding that the people who were given subpoenas not honor those subpoenas. Okay, in the middle of investigation about him, and we're supposed to believe he's being persecuted? That he's a truther who's being, well, if you're a fucking truther, then you shouldn't have any problem with people going and giving depositions in your name. He's literally telling them to not honor the subpoenas. They need to fucking make that a crime. That's criminal.
Yeah.
They need to be forced legally to turn themselves in. Steve Bannon's the first one that's going to defy it.
Did he
if they don't have-
actually say it? Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's not going. He's been told by Trump not to. They're all such independent thinkers. They're all a bunch of freaking pussy bootlickers.
So he'll get arrested then, right? Bannon, if he doesn't do the subpoena, whatever?
Yeah, I don't
Isn't
know who else has already been subpoenaed. They subpoenaed some other people today. So
Dave, are you from Boston? Sorry.
No.
No, you have like an accent, but I can't tell where it's from. It comes out in certain words. New York? Okay.
Virginia. It's Virginia, Chicago, and New York.
Cool.
Combination
Cool.
of everything. Yeah.
all right, so let's get back on the topic here for a minute.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just think, you know, him just doing stuff like that, just telling him not to comply. You know, I think that's amazing for a man that, you know, whose event is being investigated. So if anybody wants to talk about, you know, I mean, how people's rights are being taken away, fucking Donald Trump is running the show here, no matter how you want to look at it. And he may not have announced this run, but he was in Iowa. And basically, you know, the Republican Party can talk about how, you know, there was an article in the Hill this morning about how most Republicans don't want Trump to run again, but they don't say a fucking word, actually. You know, they just embrace him even harder, you know, because they don't have the political will to stand up to him. So
He said he's going to run because he said, you know, DeSantis, he said he could beat DeSantis. He sort of came swinging against DeSantis, you know, unprovoked.
but he was supposed to come out and announce it, and he put that off.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't know. I don't know. I certainly have a great deal of trepidation
Yeah.
about him running again. I don't think. I mean, when I see polls that say, you know, should he be allowed to run for president again? And my fucking answer is, you know, he was impeached twice. If he wasn't guilty on the first go around, he was definitely impeachable on the second go around.
Right.
That was just they had everything. That was absolutely just no political will to do anything like that from the GOP. They just totally protected him. And
To get back to the topic for 2 seconds, I think Trump really does, I don't know about idolize or worship, but he does follow the strongmen, and he sees Putin. Putin's been in since what, 98, and he did have to leave briefly in 2014, I believe, but he came right back. And this guy, you know, I'm sure he loves that, and he wants to be in forever.
yeah,
You know, I'm just saying, I do not understand at this point, even Republicans having anything to do with Donald Trump. You know, this isn't about Republican or Democrat anymore. This is about a potential dictator. I know that sounds it's, dramatic, but it's true.
Yeah.
This guy, he'll do whatever. And so anyway, but in terms of what
So I can shut this down, so I can shut the recording down. What
I
are we gonna do next week now?
I'm going to work
know?
on it.
All right.
I have a feeling I know, but I don't want to announce it. But what I do want to say, guys, just take what we're saying and just take it, just think about it. I mean, just think about it logically.
And, please read the shit we put in there. I just can't tell you how long it takes to do that.
I
Okay?
mean, I just lost all my links. Now I'm going to have to spend like an hour, 2 hours finding the stupid things and giving them to Deb. So come on now.
Just
Read
use
them.
them. That's what they're there for.
Yeah.
All right, I'm shutting this baby down. We'll be back next Sunday, like it or not. Have a nice night.